YouTubers are taking over Hollywood. If you didn't already know, two of the top earning films this past weekend were written and directed by filmmakers who got their start on YouTube and, brace yourselves, are in their 20s. Just this past weekend, I saw Backrooms and Obsession. And while there is so much to talk about just within the narratives of these films, there's also so much to talk about with what's going on outside of them. So I want to talk about earnings, budgets, box office records, critic and audience reactions, and what the success of Kane Parsons and Curry Barker's films could mean for the future of cinema. I don't know if you can hear that. The Alexa just started playing music all by itself downstairs. I'm home alone. Alexa, stop. I'm not doing this. No. 2 horror films in 1 weekend have me a little stressed out. So before I break down each film individually, I just want to talk about what we're witnessing here. Both of these box office successes have been a long time coming. In fact, I just read an article today talking about how Kane Parsons was brought in to meet with producers when he was just 16 years old. The initial meetings were happening while he was still in high school. The producers had seen his YouTube found footage content and knew that his feature film would be incredibly promising. And they were right, it has paid off. Kane Parsons is now the youngest filmmaker in history to have a #1 at the box office. The film that was made on an estimated budget of around $10 million has earned $81 million in its opening weekend. That is the largest opening weekend for an A24 film ever. The previous record holder was Alex Garland's Civil War that made around $25 million in its opening weekend. So Backrooms didn't just break that record, it absolutely shattered it. And if I'm not mistaken, Backrooms is in the top 5, maybe even top 3 highest domestic opening weekends for a horror film ever. He's 20, and he was confirmed to be directing this at 19, and apparently in meetings about this movie since he was 16. And despite what the internet has speculated, the cast and crew of this movie has repeatedly said that Kane Parsons went above and beyond as director. He was in full control. This is his movie. And then there's Obsession. This movie was made by Curry Barker, who's known on YouTube for a lot of comedy work. He had previously released a short film on YouTube that actually performed very well and is part of the reason why he was able to move forward with creating Obsession. Obsession was shot in about 20 days on an estimated budget of $750,000. If you have no frame of reference for movie budgets, $10 million is already considered to be exceptionally low, so $750,000, that's low budget, baby. So Obsession was shot in 20 days and then premiered at TIFF, and there was a bidding war where it eventually went to Focus Features for theatrical distribution. Now, remember when I said that these movies are topping the box office together? Backrooms had its opening weekend, which was huge, so you'd assume that that's the same for Obsession, right? This is its opening weekend? Wrong. Obsession is in its 3rd week and has seen an upward box office trajectory since its opening weekend. That's insane. That never happens. That just doesn't happen. When you're looking at box office numbers, the opening weekend is incredibly important, but another thing that you need to watch is the drop from first weekend to second weekend. For example, The Mandalorian and Grogu. I love that movie. It was great. I made another video about it. Check it out. I think it's worth a watch and I thought it was great. It performed better than expected at the box office in its first weekend, but it has actually had a record high drop from weekends 1 to 2. A drop in the box office is normal and it's expected. It's just a question of how much. How soon before your movie stops making money. But to see an increase? That's crazy. To see an increase not just from the first weekend to the second weekend, but from the second to the third? That's insane. Obsession made about $17 million in its first weekend, and then it made about $23 million in its second, and then it made another $27 million in its third weekend. Reportedly, this hasn't happened for about 50 years, and the last time it happened in 1982 was for E.T. And considering that this movie was made on a less than $1 million budget, it's currently set to become one of the most profitable movies of all time. It's making hundreds upon hundreds times its budget. Is your mind blown? It should be, because once again, YouTubers, now filmmakers, topping the box office in their 20s. And critically, also successes. Let's start with Backrooms. As of right now, while I'm making this video, it is sitting at a 90% critic score and a 74% audience score. This review from Allison Wilmore at Vulture and New York Magazine says, "It's haunting, but also weirdly inviting. The kind of space you'd want to keep exploring despite knowing better. It's just all the other stuff around it that needs work." Personally, I thought it was great. It was a genuinely stressful, haunting, eerie, unsettling, terrible experience. So Kane Parsons did his job. This review from Andrew Murray at The Upcoming says, a haunting, liminal horror that touches on themes of memory and trauma to eerie effect. I wasn't sure what kind of thematic exploration we were going to get, but yeah, that kind of twisted, therapeutic, memory-focused approach was very interesting. This review states, in truth, this is a story that's best felt rather than explained, and Parsons does admirably to leave you with a queasy sense of dread. I definitely agree with that. I've seen a lot of people that are trying to nitpick and figure out what exactly was going on and what the lore of the Backrooms is really supposed to be in this movie, but I'm not sure that's the point. There are plenty of questions that we still have, but that's the Backrooms. Like, we're really not supposed to know. I definitely left that movie just feeling like, ugh, like weighed down by all that I'd witnessed and seen. And I definitely think that's exactly what we should be getting from a Backrooms horror movie. This review further praises Kane Parsons by saying, for any film, this is a remarkable accomplishment. For a debut feature from a filmmaker who started working on the film when he was still in high school, it's something else entirely. I really tried to approach this movie not just being like, wow, and a 20-year-old made this, but it works either way. With or without the context of Kane Parsons and his age and his origins, it's wildly impressive either way. My personal review is, I think you can really see where Kane Parsons' strengths lie. The unseen was way more terrifying than what was seen throughout the film, if that makes sense. You can definitely see where his experience comes from because the found footage segments of this film were by far the most frightening. Like, absolutely haunting, burned into my brain, so well done, because I was crapping myself in the theater. I also really didn't expect this film to be as artistic as it was. The composition of these shots was beautiful. The themes were very intriguing. The dialogue was so clever. And the music just like sends a shiver down your spine. It was very well put together. Quick spoiler, skip ahead like 10, 20 seconds if you don't want to hear it right about now. That last sequence, that last shot showing that the Backrooms remembers everything and that now it remembers Mary. It was insane. It was such a brilliant shot to end on though. Like that last visual of that distorted version of her that now resides in the Backrooms was so eerie. It'll stick with you. Anyways, back to it. I will say I feel like the audience score should be higher. The reason I think it isn't is because Backrooms is an existing internet folklore concept that everyone already has these pre-existing conceptions of, and because people have interacted with so many different forms of this concept before, I think people brought their expectations to this film. I really feel like expectation impacted response in this case. But anyways, it is a generational film. It is both visually appealing and terrifying at the same time, and I would recommend it. I'm not a horror person, and I saw it, and it did scare me shitless, but I enjoyed it. Like, it was in a good way, I swear. Then there was Obsession. Currently, this film has a 96% critic score and a 94% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. I keep hearing sounds. Oh my gosh. I think it's my AC. Anyways, this review from Filmfare says, the experience of watching this film is the equivalent of riding a high-speed roller coaster and enjoying the absolute torturous thrill. Yeah, because it was a torturous experience. I legitimately was like covering my eyes for half of it. I did watch it, I swear. I peaked. It just makes me feel better like this for some reason. This review is hilarious and says, you will probably leave Obsession feeling vaguely feverish, slightly nauseous, and deeply annoyed that the former YouTube prank comedian tested the very limits of soiling yourself. I failed. I'm not even kidding. I was a little bit like queasy when we walked out of this movie and I had to like stop at the grocery store on the way home and get like raspberries because I was like, I need something else in my stomach other than fear. Barker balances awkward laughs with some truly unsettling imagery and themes, making this one of the most disturbing films of the year. I mean, like, look at Jordan Peele, who has such amazing comedic talent, and then the horror films that he makes. And yeah, there were some parts where people are laughing because it's funny, or it's like you're so uncomfortable that you're like awkward, like, what's going on? And it was just such an interesting balance within the film. This review from Should I See It says, the conversations I heard in the lobby as I walked out of the theater had people deep in discussion over the collective experience we had all just shared. I have said it before and I will say it again. I think the best thing that a movie can do is prompt discussion. All the time, people just look to movies to have this enjoyable experience and have these themes and characters that they agree with, but I kind of love it when it's a movie that I'm like, I didn't really like this, but I don't think I was supposed to talk about it. I love when that happens. I think it's just brilliant. Now, like I said, this made me legitimately sick to my stomach, and not even necessarily from the visual horror or the gore or any of that. Honestly, the part that was most unsettling to me was like the unsaid moral horror in this story. Like the implications of Nikki's not lost but stolen autonomy are sickening. And I have to praise the acting here because the character of Nikki is put in such a strange situation and has this almost split personality, and that is so hard to portray, but the actress Indy Navarrete, I think, did it absolutely fantastically, just with such nuance and dedication. The film was also just like shockingly beautiful in a way that even while all of this horror is unfolding, you can't help but be like, wow, that's a nice shot. There's also this great like recurring visual of Nikki basically just shrouded in darkness. She just looked like a silhouette or shadow. And not only was that eerie, but I think it spoke volumes about the fact that this isn't real Nikki. This is an outline of her. This is the shape of her, but it isn't her. Genius. And Curry Barker's already back to work, like, on his next project. And I'm going to be following him and Kane Parsons' careers so closely. I find both of these films just, like, so fascinating because it's just a further example of this, like, YouTube to horror filmmaker pipeline. It's not the first time we've seen it. Just back in January, Iron Lung hit theaters and was massively successful. And, of course, that was, like, written, directed, produced, and edited by Markiplier of YouTube fame. So, what does this mean for the future of cinema? I have no idea, but I can tell you what I hope it means. I hope this means that big studios are going to seek out and support young filmmakers. I hope this means that we're going to see more original content pushed onto our screens, whether that is movies or TV. And most of all, I hope this means we get more low-budget movies. Time and time again, studios are prioritizing pushing out like 2 or 3 big budget, $200 million movies a year. I feel like I would rather get several $20 million movies, $10 million movies, $750,000 movies. Backrooms and Obsession have just proved that you don't need a big budget to make a big hit movie. They've been massive box office and critical successes. Not only that, because of the low budget, you see that these films have turned to classic filmmaking techniques and practical effects. And whether a casual audience knows it or not, it makes such a massive difference. I love practical effects and we need more of them. And a low budget encourages that. I'm just blown away by the success of these movies, by the minds of these filmmakers, and what this could mean for the future of filmmaking. So let me know, what did you guys think? I am so curious. Do you think this is going to change the trajectory of Hollywood from here? Are we going to see such a different cinematic landscape? I mean, I just feel like the possibilities are endless. I don't even really like horror. I was crapping myself in the theater. This was not for me. I'm home alone and I'm freaked out now because I saw 2 horror movies in one weekend, but I would absolutely recommend them. Go see them, support young filmmakers, support low budget films, just support theaters. Anyways, that was my tangent. I've been so interested in these movies and their journey, but let me know what you think. Yeah, thanks.